Hi everyone, welcome to my latest installment of my life here in Washington DC. Today I'm going to talk to you about Boston, or as the locals call it, Boston. I have a friend who lives about an hour outside of Boston and invited me up there for a party, and so I thought I'll take the opportunity to have a bit of a long weekend, fly up and see a bit of Boston, see my friend, have a party and have a good time. So because she was an hour out of Boston, I thought it's going to be easiest to get a car, hire a car and drive out there. So if you watched my last episode where I headed to the Renaissance Fair, I had actually driven with someone who knew the roads and had been, well, they're a UK person and they've been driving in the US, so I felt really good about that, and I felt good about the driving. So I thought, right, I can do this. I can drive by myself in another country on the wrong side of the road. So I planned it so that I got in at about 1:30 in the afternoon, because it was going to be a Friday afternoon, and I thought I'll avoid all of the peak hour traffic, and that should be good because you know, just in case I freak out. But the plane got delayed because it had had a maintenance issue, and I'm happy for it to delay as much as it wants with a maintenance issue. I'd rather them have it sorted rather than find out it's not sorted, you know, when they're up in the air. So we had to wait about an hour, and then there was some issues with landing in Boston, and so by the time I actually got to Boston, and it's only an hour and a half flight from Washington, it was about 4:30, and it was about 5 o'clock by the time I was setting off. And so I thought, right, well, I'll just be calm, just keep to the right, and it'll be fine. To get out of the airport, because Logan Airport is very close to this, like it's quite in the city. I didn't expect it to be so close in the city. I had to take a big tunnel, and then had to go over this massive big bridge, and I loved the bridge, and I really wanted to just stop and have a look, but you're not allowed to. But I did get a picture of it later on when I got to Boston proper, and so off I headed down the freeway, and it's really easy because the freeway have their exits numbered. So it's like, you know, exit number 15. And you've got exit number 20, so you know you've got 5 exits to go before you have to get out of it. It was about 65 miles per hour. I still don't know what miles to kilometres are, so I normally just double it. And so I stuck to 65 in the right-hand lane as much as I could. I probably was doing a bit under. Someone actually told me it's a sort of bit of a serving suggestion, 65. That's sort of like your starting speed, and then you just go for it after that. I didn't want to take the chance that I'd get a ticket or something like that, but I also didn't impede people by sitting in more left lanes and stopping them. But anyway, got to what I called Haverhill. Haverhill was where I was staying. I went and had dinner that night at a bar, sports bar, and had a steak. It was really, really nice, and talked to people about, is it Haverhill? And they said to me, no, it's Haverhill, so you don't pronounce the second H. I thought, oh, excellent, this is going to be doing good stead, because I'm going to be at a party with a whole bunch of locals, so when I say I'm staying at Haverhill, they're going to think I'm a local as well, even though I've got an Australian accent. Anyway, so managed to make it okay. I'm really happy about how stress-free I'm finding driving in the United States. I had no worries whatsoever, felt good. Still do things like looking left hand for changing gears. I mean, I was in an automatic, so it's not like it's a big deal. And but you know, I expect that because I've driven with the left hand for the gear stick for all my life. But really happy, and really happy that I'm going to be able to just grab a car whenever I want to go somewhere that's going to be a bit difficult to get to from public transport. So that was fantastic. So when I had my dinner on the Friday night, I think it was a place called 99's, I had, I'd noticed that there was a pumpkin ale. I think I mentioned last time, it's starting to get into pumpkin season. I'll talk more about that in a later vlog, because there's a lot to talk about pumpkins and fall. But anyway, I noticed that and thought, well, that just, do I want to try pumpkin flavoured ale? Anyway, the guy said he'd give me a little taste. And so he gave me a taste, and I liked it. So I thought I'll get a glass. What they do though is they rim the glass with a caramel and cinnamon sugar mix. Now it just tasted like beer. I couldn't taste the pumpkin in it, but the caramel and cinnamon sugar made the beer a hell of a lot more palatable. So that was the start of what I'm seeing is a lot of pumpkin spice things while I'm here. But anyway, the next day I headed to my friend's place to just see if she needed a hand with setting up. Did a little bit of that, and then she had suggested a place called Newburyport. So I headed down there, and it was only about 15 minutes down the road, and it's a seaside port. It's a really old place. I think it's famous for having John Quincy Adams lived there, born there, something like that, a US president. It's not that big a place. It's only about 20,000 people. It's fishing industry because it's right on the coast. So the other claim to fame is it was the first place where they dumped the tea in protest of the high taxes that the British were charging for tea. And so, and that was the beginning of the revolution. It was also my first time with roundabouts in the US. Now, it wasn't that weird about going the wrong way on the roundabout. I got that. It was more I didn't know who to give way to, because in Australia we give way to the right and anyone that's on the roundabout. I later learned, because I googled it, because I thought I should know these things before I get out on the road, that basically it's, if you're in the roundabout you get run away. Otherwise, you know, everyone else, you just try and get on there as best you can. So I was happy with that. So headed down and had a few look around, and it was a very old kind of place, and there were some really good buildings and things like that. Lovely lovely scenes of the bay. I don't know what the bay is called, but it's the Atlantic Ocean. And I also headed down to Plum Island, which is it's not that far away, and it's a beautiful little seaside resort. Not many people there at all. On the way is a place called the Pink House, and I'd seen it, I think, when I was googling what's in the area, and it was the Pink House. I think it's just a pink house that's sitting out in the middle of nowhere between Newburyport and Plum Island. I did see signs on the way to say, hey, save the pink house, save the pink house. So obviously they want to rip it down. But some local did say to me, but they're not doing anything with it. No one's prepared to put any money into fixing it. But it's a nice little Instagram-y type of a photo opportunity. So I took a photo of it and a couple of other things in the area. And that was my sort of day trip out to Newburyport and to see Plum Island. It was really good. So I headed back to my friend Barbara's place for the party, which is called Lobster Palooza. Every year she and her family host a whole pile of people and eat lobster, Maine lobster to be exact, and all you need is a little bit of melted butter, because the lobsters are just so tasty. So they're so organised that they even have t-shirts. Have a look, I've got my t-shirt on, Lobster Palooza 2024, and then with stuff on the back as well. I'll put a picture up of that. I feel like I'm channeling my friend Leah here. She has a YouTube channel called Band T-Shirts with Leah. It's a really interesting podcast, I think it's a podcast, where she talks about band T-shirts that she's gotten and an experience with the band that she's seen. Well worth a look. If I can work out how to put the link in to the comments down below, I'll do that. You should check it out. As Molly would say, do yourself a favour. So the party was fantastic. Ate lobster, had a really good time. and was really happy that I'd gone down there. I hadn't seen Barb in a while, so it was good to catch up. So Sunday morning, I then headed out back to the Boston, and drop off the car, and then because I didn't really need it once I was got into Boston proper, and I was just going to spend a couple of days just checking out Boston. I'd had some idea of what I wanted to do. I wanted to do like a bit of an amphibious duck tour. So it's one of these amphibious vehicles that does a bit of on the water, on the streets, and takes you around. I also needed to go on the Freedom Trail and do a few other bits and pieces. So I headed back to the airport. Freeway was fine, and it was early Sunday morning. It was 8 o'clock in the morning, so it was pretty quiet. Happy with that. Unfortunately, I did miss my turn off. Now that doesn't freak me out because I'm on the wrong side of the road, because I miss turn offs when I'm on the left hand side of the road. So that's normal for me to miss turn offs. I felt bad though was my poor GPS was getting completely confused about where I was. So I was in a tunnel, and GPS said be in the second from right lane and then take the turn off. So I did that, but then in between her telling me that and the turn off happening, another lane appeared. So I was suddenly in the third from right, and so missed it completely. Then GPS just thought I was above ground and not in the tunnel, and so it was take the next left. So I'm thinking, shit, now I've got to get left. All right, let's go. And then I was like, there's no exit. And that was about two times she said, okay, take the next left, that I worked out there is no left. So let's just get back right again, because that's going to be where I'm going to have to get out. And eventually got there, got it back to the airport, dropped it off, and headed into Boston. Now the Boston Metro was really good, very easy. The map's really easy to read. I knew exactly where I needed to go, and very cheap, $2.40. Later found out that it's the oldest metro or underground railway system in America, beating New York out by about 7 months. They are trams though, they're not trains, so it's a lot slower than the trains I'm used to. And because it's so old, there's no escalators, it's all stairs up, and yeah, pretty old looking. I still prefer my clean and modern Washington Metro with all of the escalators. So when I got to my hotel, I was ready to check in, and I went to look for my glasses, these glasses, and they weren't in my backpack. And that's when I worked out that I'd actually left them in my hire car. My stupidity amazes me sometimes, because you think, you know, when you leave something like a hotel room or a hire car or something like that, when you know you're not going to be back there, you should really check things properly. Make sure you've got everything. So, good thing the metro or their subway system is really easy to use, because I knew exactly how to get back to the airport. So I went there, went to the hire car place, and tried to find my glasses, and just had to wait a bit. Look, all up, it was probably a 2.5 hour delay, which, look, I just get angry at myself, because if I was just slightly more on the ball, then it wouldn't be a problem. But it did mean that I had to then change what I was doing, because I'd hoped to sort of get on a hop-on, hop-offy type of bus, or the duck, by about 10 o'clock. And so that would give me plenty of time to then do other things, but it wasn't to be. And the ducks were a bit packed, so I wasn't going to be able to get one until later in the afternoon. So I thought, look, I'll just get the hop-on, hop-off trolley and do that. And it was really, really good. They took us around to a few places, and there's some really good commentary. That's where I learned about, yeah, they do take the piss out of themselves with their pronunciation of things. Our driver did say, you know, you have to say, you can't park your car in Harvard. I'm not doing it very well, but really, you can't park your car in Boston without saying Boston and car and park. things like that. But he also, I don't know whether it's him or all Bostonians, but he seemed to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder about New York, because he was the one that was quite happy to say, you know, we had a subway 7 months before New York, and there's all quite, and I mean, it's a very old place, and so they were doing a lot of things. I think I made a list of all of the things they did first within America. So yes, first subway, first public park, first school, public school, first US college, first US post office, first American restaurant, and city police department. So Boston was certainly movers and shakers in their day. I mean, they were, I don't know, 1630 or something, I think they were founded, created, became, I don't know. But it was a really good tour, took in all the sites. What I did find though is the next day I wanted to do the Freedom Trail, and I found that all the photos that I took from the bus that didn't work out all that well, it's all right because I'm redoing them again on the Freedom Trail, so I got better pics. So after the hop off, hop on bus, whatever it was, I didn't bother hopping off, I just went on it for the 2-hour loop. I headed down to Fenway Park, which is the home of the Boston Red Sox. Had I been slightly earlier and not left my glasses in the hire car, I would have gone to inside the stadium. As it was, I turned up just about the 8th innings and they wouldn't let me in. I couldn't get in. So, but I took some shots from outside. So it's one of the oldest baseball parks, and one that a lot of Americans do try and make a pilgrimage to because it's old and it's got a lot of history. The Boston Red Sox were playing the Chicago White Sox, which I just thought, look, if it's a battle for the Soxes, it's got to be epic, you know. But no, apparently Chicago White Sox are shit, so it wasn't that big a rivalry. They weren't that shit on the day because they ended up getting 5 runs in the 9th innings and winning the game. So had I managed to get in, I would have seen a whole pile of runs. But anyway, took a walk around Fenway and took a few shots of what I could, and then headed back home to my hotel for the night. The hotel was right next to the garden. See, they can't say ours. Well, I don't know what it is. Anyway, garden, the TD Garden where the Boston Celtic play, but it's not basketball season yet, and so I didn't see any of that. I did get a view of it from my hotel window, which was just the outside of a building, so it wasn't that pleasant. So with all the revolutionary type history, which I'll talk about, but there's also the Kennedy side of things. So the Kennedy family are all from Boston, and so there was a lot of stuff to JFK there. There was a street where him and I've forgotten her name, Jackie Bouvier, where JFK and Jackie Kennedy lived back when he was a senator, and there's a few statues to JFK and things like that. There's also a lovely rose garden for Rose Kennedy, his mum, and so they planted 103 plants, or however old she was when she passed. It was certainly over 100, and so that's how many bushes they've planted in that rose garden for her, which is lovely. So I saw bits and pieces of that as I was going by in the bus. But really, Boston, it is all about the revolution. It's about chucking tea into the river, and it's about, you know, the British are coming, and Paul Revere. So the Freedom Trail was set up in 1951. Someone had this idea that why don't we just make a trail for everyone to follow, and it'll put them in all the spots that that they need to see to really appreciate the history, and I suppose freedom, because it was freedom from the British. So they've got these pavers, these red pavers that go the length of the Freedom Trail, so it makes it really easy to follow. And the only thing I didn't do was I didn't start, because I thought it was a loop, but it's actually a trail. So it starts from Boston Common, which is the big park, and then ends up at the Battle of Bunker Hill monument. But I was sort of near the monument, and went, well, I'll start where I am, and when I come back, I'll loop in. But it wasn't that easy, and it ended up, I missed two things. So I missed the Battle of Bunker Hill monument and Constitution Dock and the USS Constitution. But I did sort of see them on the bus tour the day before, so it was okay. And the monument looks exactly like the Washington Monument, so like that thing there. So I didn't think I was missing that much. Although, again, doing a bit of research so that I'm telling you facts and not just shit I make up in my head. The Battle of Bunker Hill monument was built first, I think about 7 years before the Washington Monument was started. So that's the original, is the Battle of Bunker Hill. So let's call that the Battle of Bunker Hill Monument, not the Washington Monument, even though I got that one in Washington. Anyway, so for those that don't know, there was grumblings of the British overtaxing the US, and they wanted to revolt, and so they were planning a revolution. And so there's all these buildings where they met. So the key names are Paul Revere, Sam Adams, other people as well. Anyway, so they would plot and plan and try and work out how best to do that. And then at some point, the British were advancing on them, and Paul Revere made this trip to tell all the troops and General Washington that the British were coming. And there was a ringing of bells from the North Shore Church and all the rest of it. Was it the North Church? Anyway, so as you can imagine, there is so much on this trail that is Paul Revere, his house, where he actually met all the other revolutionaries, and then where he's buried. So there was a couple of graves, cemeteries that I went to. Now, when I went to Charleston, they're a graveyard if they're attached to a church, and if they're not, they're a cemetery. So I went to two cemeteries, and there was John Hancock, so the guy of the, sign your John Hancock here, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Paul Revere. There was also some woman who was from the Mayflower, was also buried in these cemeteries as well. I don't know who she was, but there you go. So that was really good to see all of that kind of stuff as I was coming down into around Boston Common. On the way, I stopped at this place called the Modern Bakery, which was established in 1930, so I liked the irony of it. I went in there and had a lobster tail, which is a bit of I don't know if it's an American thing or a Boston thing or a New England thing, but it was a pastry and it was bloody beautiful. Really enjoyed it. And I had it with the hot chocolate. The hot chocolate was ridiculously sweet. Can't believe I'm saying that there's things that are too sweet here. I've got a very sweet tooth, so it must be overly sweet. So I think what I was impressed about Boston, because of its age, there was just a lot of mix of old buildings and new buildings, and really just interesting things to see along the way. I liked the Boston Common. I know that was a ridiculously old park that I think's been around since 1600s. I think I got hopefully I've got a sign of it that says when it was created for you. But love that, and it was beautiful weather over in Boston. It was about 21, 22 degrees, but to me that's perfect weather. I love that. I saw random things like the Cheers building. I didn't go in. So the Cheers bar from the TV show. I was never a big Cheers watcher, or Frasier for that matter. And I know that people rave about those two shows, but I think, I don't know, I just never got into them. Anyway, so I saw the narrowest building in Boston. I saw the oldest restaurant in the US, and it was an oyster bar, and I think it's still open. And just lots of cobblestones, and yeah, I really loved it. I'd love to go back there, because then it started to be well, I need to get back to the airport to get back home again. Saw a squirrel. I think the weirdest thing I saw was the tribute to the Irish potato famine. Now, I know that Boston has a lot of Irish. They're the Boston Celtics, all the rest of it. But this was an area that there was 3 or 4 statues dedicated to the potato famine, and some plaques given the history of it all. And you know, they thought it was terrible, this plight of the poor Irish. I mean, I don't know, I just know the old Irish joke. What caused the Irish potato famine? They forgot where they buried them. And yeah, okay, that's my bad joke for the day. And so I was interested to see that they were happy to support the Irish until the Irish started coming over, and then they weren't too happy. They were happy to just send money over as long as they didn't bring their problems over to Boston. So look, you know, immigration hasn't changed too much in 400 years or 200 years, whenever the potato famine was. And to be honest, it wasn't the bloody downtrodden that were getting over to the US. I mean, because they had no money. But I thought it was interesting that there was this, you know, quite a substantial tribute for the Irish potato famine. So that was my trip up to Boston. I know I'll probably want to go back there because really I was just there just over 24 hours, really, Boston proper. So I know that there's still so much more to see. And even just in the surrounds, like Salem's not that far away. And I do want to see more of Massachusetts, that whole New England area. I'm going to need to see more of, especially during autumn. But it was really good. It was good to see my friend Barb. It was good to eat Maine lobster. Oh, I recommend it highly. And got the t-shirt, been there, done that. So happy for my first trip to Boston to be such an enjoyable experience. Haven't done one of these for a while. I don't know whether it's because I haven't seen too many big differences, or maybe I'm just getting used to living in the US. I've forgotten what things were like in Australia. Who knows? But I know that the supermarkets here are a bit different to what I'm used to back in Adelaide, and so I thought I'd show you. This is what a typical supermarket looks like in the States. Now, well, certainly in Washington DC. So most of the supermarkets have the same sort of things. My local is a Whole Foods, and so that's just downstairs. It's about a 5-minute walk. So that's what I've used basically, but I've seen other supermarkets and found that they're all very similar. Now, again, I'm comparing it to Adelaide. So if there's things that I'm spotting here that you know that you've seen in your supermarkets, even wherever you're watching, doesn't necessarily need to be Australia. If you're sitting in some country I don't know of, and your supermarkets are a little bit different, or you have got the same sort of things in your supermarkets, just let me know. I think the big thing that is completely different here is that dogs are allowed into supermarkets, and it's not just service dogs, it's pretty much whoever. And you don't have to have them in a bag or in a trolley or anything. They're just roaming around everywhere. Not used to that yet. Some very cute puppy dogs, but yeah, I'm not liking them near my fresh produce, but you know, that's what it is. There's dogs over here. Alcohol, I know in Adelaide we don't have alcohol in our supermarkets, and other states in Australia do, but does your supermarket have a bar? This one's open between 3 and 9, I think every day. I'm not too sure. I've put the sign up. What do you need a bar for? And it's like a proper bar, and the TV's on showing the sport. I just, you know, I've never been shopping and thought to myself, you know what I really need right now? Just to sit down at a bar and have a cold brewski. But my Whole Foods has a bar. The age of doing for yourself, I don't know if this is a new thing or whether, you know, like we've all got the self-checkout kind of things, and and they've got them here as well. But there's also a juice your own oranges. So you just get your oranges, shove them in there, grab a container, and then the machine will juice your oranges. I know I've seen the coffee, the coffee grounders. I always wanted to do that because it just looked like fun. As a kid I thought, I want to ground my own coffee beans. I don't know if I really knew what it was. I lost that. I don't go into shops or supermarkets that have coffee grinders and want to do that. But I also don't want to juice my own oranges either, so I haven't used that machine. The biggest difference is all of the hot food. There is so much hot food ready to eat. And I'm not talking just your bachelor's handbag here. There's lasagna, curry, mac and cheese, vegetables, rice to go with it, so brown and white rice. They generally have pizzas. You can buy a whole pizza or you can buy pizza by the slice. I think every day they have a different kind of hot food that's their special for the day, because I know that there's one particular day where you can maybe get 2 slices of pizza for the price of 1. Soup, there's about 10 different types of soup that you can choose from. They generally have the same ones. I haven't partaken of the soup yet, but I think I will, because when it gets a little bit cooler, I do like a nice hot hearty soup. And I've found the bread over here is very, very sweet, but a sourdough is a sourdough wherever you go. Oh, I think that could be the slogan for sourdough bread. And so I like the idea of a good hearty soup with a bit of sourdough bread to eat with it. So I'll definitely be using that. You've got the salad bars. So you've got the do-it-yourself salad. So it's just got all the raw ingredients, like just lettuce in a pile, carrots, boiled eggs, capsicum, bell peppers over here. All that kind of stuff, corn, and you just fill it up and do what you want. And then they've also got all of the different kind of dressings, and they've got something called crunchies, which are things like if you wanted to put some slivered almonds on top or some sunflower seeds, you could do that. And it's all based on weight. That's how they charge you. So they've got that salad. That's the one that I've been using a lot of. I like the just put lots of vegetables in and different kinds of stuff. Get some crunchies, no dressing, because I'm on a diet from all the really bad 2-for-1 pizza deals they keep giving you. And so they've also though got the ready-made salads as well, so like the tabbouleh, coleslaw, potato salad, that kind of thing. If you're really interested though in olives, I haven't seen a supermarket that doesn't have an extensive olive bar, so that every different kind of olive you can think of. I'm not an olive fan, so I generally sort of walk past that and don't take any notice. But yeah, they do have stuffed black, green, whatever. There's olives. There's a bread slicer, which is really good because when I buy my sourdough loaf, it's whole. I think most sourdoughs are. And so you put it in the slicer and it slices it for you. I like that machine. I think I have seen a slicer in a supermarket before, but I don't think it was in Adelaide. I'm not too sure. But again, you've got to do it all yourself. It's the best thing, I think, the bread slicer since sliced bread. So every supermarket generally has a coffee shop where you can get some coffees and pastries, and at Whole Foods it's a Starbucks. So, and there is a lot of Starbucks everywhere around this country, as you'd expect. Starbucks in every corner or something like that. So yeah, so you can get a coffee if you want, but also if you did get some of the food and you want to eat it now, whether it's your hot food or salad or whatever, they have dining set up so that you can, and some outside as well as inside, so that you can eat your food straight away. They've got lots of plastic cutlery. I'm sick of the amount of plastic that's here. They really do waste a lot. But anyway, so there's cutlery not receptacles, dispensers, that's what it is. Cutlery dispensers and with serviettes, tables and chairs, and then they've got condiments because they like their condiments over here. So, and you can just sit down and eat your stuff if you want. And like I said, outside and in as well. So that's the supermarkets in the US. It's, I mean, everything else is the same. They've got the normal kind of vegetables. It's just that the vegetables and fruit and veg, you get a little bit more variety. It's easier to get dragon fruit here than it is in Adelaide. I haven't tried any. I don't know if I want to. But, yeah, and they have, you know, the same sort of things, same kind of aisles, same kind of stuff at the checkouts to try and get you into buying a bit more lollies for the kids, that kind of thing. But that's it. That's the supermarkets. That's the differences between the supermarkets over in the US and the ones I'm used to in Adelaide. So I think that's all I've got. Oh, I've started with so again. Okay, I've noticed when I do these back again, I seem to start every sentence with so. And I'm trying not to. So I don't know why I do that. I don't think I talk like that when I'm talking to people. I don't know. If you've had conversations with me outside of this vlog and I've started every sentence with so, please let me know. But I'm aware of it now, so I'm gonna and I'm gonna try and stop doing it. Anyway, I think that's all I have time for this time. Things have been going good. My only big claim for this month, or since I got here really, is I finally got my US driver's license. When you see the Simpsons episode and any episode with Patty and Selma at the DMV, and you just think, oh, that's got to be a caricature, that's got to be an over-exaggeration just for comedy's sake. It's not. It's not at all. It's worse than that. I went to the DMV 4 times. And finally, I think they just took pity on me. You need to have a whole pile of information to prove who you are and you know, whether you're a resident and all the rest of it. So I know that a couple of people here did have their license, got their US license, and they told me everything that they had to do to get it at the DMV, the same DMV office that I went to. So I walked in there with my paperwork. It wasn't good enough. And then they were sort of saying that you need a social security number, or you need a social security exemption letter from Social Security to say you're not getting a social security number because you're not a resident, a permanent resident. I mean, this is just bureaucracy gone mad. Someone did suggest just go down there and maybe you'll get a different person and they'll let you go through. And so I tried that, but it didn't work. And I ended up speaking to the manager and I went all Karen on them. I went, this is ridiculous. There's 2 other people have been here in this office and they've been given their licenses. It's not fair. And they went, well, we can't tell you what happened before. And I went, no, I'm saying to you, your people need to have their processes checked. You need to make sure that they're all trained, that they're doing it the same. And then walked out because I'd had enough. So when I went to get a social security number or an exemption, I just figured I'll go to Social Security and work out what I need to do. To get a social security number, I showed them my passport, my visa, and that my form to say that I'd come into the country legally. That was it. I had it within 3 or 4 days. So I went down to the DMV last Friday to just go, okay, here's all my paperwork. And then all I had to do was sit a written test. I didn't even have to do a driving test, which is good because I don't know all the rules. I do know what to do on roundabouts though, so that's something. Anyway, I went into there with all the same paperwork, but this time with a social security card, and she still said, no, the letter you've got is not good enough. because I had a letter from work to say, hey, this is what it is. And I just went, no, this is ridiculous. This is the 4th time I've been here. Last time it was a social security number. How many times do you want me turning up here? And then she went and checked with her manager, and her manager said, yes, that's okay. I was like, oh my God. And then I had to pass the test though. But luckily I did that. So I've got a temporary driver's license with a new license that should be here between 10 to 15 days. I've already hired a car with my Australian driver's license, so I don't know why I thought I needed to get a US license. I get it into my head sometimes that this is the way things have to be, and if they're not that way, then, you know, I freak out, or I think, you know, I'm doing something wrong. Anyway, I think it just became a battle of wits between me and DMV, and to be honest, DMV were winning for most of it. But I got it at the end, and I did say to the lady, you're going to miss me when I don't keep turning up here. But hey, I have a US driver's license. I don't know what that means, but I'll have one, and yeah, I'm pleased that it only took, I don't know, however many months I've been here and however many visits to the DMV. But yeah, Patty and Selma, you're my heroes now, because them other people down in the real DMV are not. Anyway, that's about all I have. I don't know what I'm doing next. There's bits and pieces of things. I've been to another Smithsonian, so I need to tell you about that. I'm heading over to Philly soon, Philadelphia. So I can't wait to see that. Another new place that I've never been to before. As always, if you've got any comments or questions or queries, feel free to put them down below in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.